We have so much jam-packed in for this meeting. Okay, let's see. I have to buy a larger meeting right now because there's so many people in the waiting room and I can't just leave them hanging. So let me purchase large meeting really fast because I love you guys and I can't just have people waiting in the waiting room. That is really sad.
Go, Ashley. Yay.
Am I muted or not?
Yeah. All right. Okay, I am going to, okay, so now I can host more people. People can flood in. I'm going to mute everyone again. And here we go. Okay, so welcome to this call, everyone. I am Ashley. I'm the host of this call, but I'm just one of the many amazing participants of practitioners and other wellness professionals that are going to be doing this call with us today. So we are talking all about the X39 LifeWave patches. That's why we're all here on this call. If you have any interest in this patch, you're in the right place because this isn't just some silly thing that a bunch of people are sharing online that's going viral and is not doing anything. This is an actual tool that is backed by science that has much evidence, not to mention the fact that it's light, which is the oldest form of medicine in the world ever. So right away, we've been using these patches for my son has been using them for about 3 years now, my youngest son. And then my husband and I and my now almost 2-year-old were using them a little bit later. But long story short, my oldest son got attacked in the eye by a rooster when he was 2. And we were transferred to Portland for a prosthetic eye appointment. But because of our friend, Dr. Leland Stillman, he mailed us these patches and we put them on our son. We had no idea what they were. I thought they were maybe for pain or for eyes. I had no idea what they were for, but I saw that they said non-transdermal phototherapy. And I knew what phototherapy was, and I knew that non-transdermal meant nothing was going into the skin. So I was all in. Yes, Kathleen, I am recording. So we put them on him. And when we were in Portland, literally at his pre-op for my 2-year-old getting a prosthetic eye put in, which is like really crazy to think about, he got sent home because his eye regenerated. And that's why we're here. And I tear up every time I tell that story. Fast forward, my husband started wearing them. We were all exposed to toxic mold, my newborn. So we put them on a newborn. I put them on a pregnant person. That was me. We put them on my husband. We put them on me postpartum, me nursing. They're safe and effective for everyone, and like the real kind of safe and effective. And so we saw my husband's symptoms, like when a bug bites you and you get symptoms from it. We saw those symptoms go completely away within 2 days. We saw my nervous system completely regulate. We saw us detox from biohazardous levels of toxic mold and bacteria in record-breaking time that I've never seen in my practice. So right away, I'm going to make sure that we stay on schedule because I do have to run a tight ship tonight to make sure we get in all of these incredible speakers. But I'm a holistic nutritionist and I specialize in women's hormones, fertility, and autoimmunity. I used to have 6+ autoimmune conditions and I reversed all of them naturally. Okay. And now I get to work with women daily and share this patch. And I've never seen a tool work so well, so effectively, so fast without being like a detox kind of fast or like a pushing kind of fast. This is a really supportive tool and I'm so excited to be sharing it with you guys. So first I'm going to be inviting on Dr. Veronica. So I'm going to introduce everyone first and then Dr. Veronica is going to kick off. She is brilliant. I love her. We got to meet in person in Scottsdale many years ago. But Veronica is a naturopath and she first started actually as an agriculture scientist turned naturopath. And she specializes in evidence-based, biophysics-based therapies. So that lines up perfectly with the patches. Dr. Kathleen is on here. She is a naturopathic doctor as well. She is one of the directors at the Institute of Applied Quantum Biology. And she is a quantum biology practitioner, as well as a cardiovascular diagnostics specialist, I believe, for 30 years plus 12 years in her own health clinic and 23 years of running a horse rescue. So she gets to utilize these patches on pets, on horses as well, which is a really great use for them. And all of these people are going to give a brief of their personal testimony and healing, as well as, the goods about the patch. We also have Dr. Mason on, and he's a brain-based chiropractor merging ancient wisdom with modern technology, utilizing things like stem cell and exosome therapy. And then Dr. Ed is, he was for 23 years a board certified anesthesiologist before shifting to a health optimization medical practice 4 years ago. In 2025, him and his beautiful wife, Thora, started utilizing the patches, and now they are deeply integrated in his clinic that he practices in Virginia from his farm. Tori, she is a mom, a friend of mine, and a functional nutritionist. The Vita Well is her wellness practice, and then she also runs a women's loss support group called Solace. So for moms that have lost their babies, and it's just a really beautiful thing they do. And she specializes in fertility, nutrition, postpartum care, and autoimmunity. She loves to focus on science-based labs with real-life practical nutrition. She also has a cookbook called Eating for Life, where she focuses on nutrient-dense meals. And she loves for health to be accessible and sustainable for modern families, because that's what we all need. Hannah, she is somebody that joined my team and I've just fallen deeply in love with. She's in Australia. So she's a holistic nutritional biochemist, and her client niche is nervous system regulation. And she pairs whole food nutrition with polyvagal-based somatic practices. So she has a crazy testimonial from the patches. And then we have Meredith, and she's the host of the Quantum Biology podcast. I see her in her red light glasses. And then Renita, I hope Renita is on. Renita is an absolute champion here with LifeWave. She's a mom of 3 incredible, crazy boys. Scott is her husband. I hope she's on, but she is a wellness and fitness expert for the last 25 years. She was a TV expert on NBC, I believe, in North Dakota. And again, just a champion for what we're doing here with this company. Okay, she is here. All right. So Veronica, if you're on, if you could unmute yourself, and we will just get started. I'm going to also look for you.
Sure. And actually, I have some PowerPoint slides that if you're able to just temporarily enable the co-host sharing, I'd love to be able to share.
Yes, let me do that. Okay, I've done this before. I think I do host tools. I'm just gonna allow you.
Or if you go next to my name, it might give you the ability to co-host me.
Okay, let me go over here. Wow, there's a lot of you guys on. This is awesome. Okay, so Veronica, there we go. I think I can make host.
Perfect.
Change host. There we go.
Great. So what I will do is I will share my screen, and everybody can just confirm with me that that is what you see.
All right, we can see your screen. I'm going to mute myself.
Perfect. So everybody can see what is LifeWave phototherapy. Good. Okay. So I'm today's first speaker. My name is Veronica. Ashley's already given me plenty of introduction, but essentially, you know, I consider myself a scientist even before a practitioner. I've worked with light now for about 15 years, first with clams and mussels and fish, and then kind of took the power and tool of light into human health practice. And then from there, more recently in consulting roles for devices. So if you're familiar with red light therapy, infrared, EMS, electroporation, all those devices, I do consult with companies to kind of fine tune their engineering. So some would say that I'm maybe an expert in this field, although in my opinion, only one entity kind of qualifies for expert status. That'd be God. But maybe I'll try and be his best messenger today. So when we talk about LifeWave, I really want to kind of give you an evidence-based, grounding as to what distinguishes this and what really sets it apart. So the first thing I want to really kind of point out is that LifeWave, as Ashley mentioned, is not transdermal. So this is not a chemical or supplement grade type of effect that you're getting when it comes to LifeWave. This is not putting anything in the body that's going to go through and get absorbed by the bloodstream. So when you see these different patches, glutathione, carnosine, the Alavita patch, which stimulates the epithalamin, this is working to actually stimulate your body with its own infrastructure to make these things themselves, okay? That is a very big point that we want to stress. How does it do this? Like, how does it actually do this, right? People tell you, oh, the light is going to be redirected in the body, but you're kind of still left with asking questions, how? I have a little diagram here that might help kind of elucidate this. So essentially these patches, if you were to open up and look at them, they have what are like these little lattice-like networks. It's some geometry that's there. These are made out of amino acids that essentially form into these crystalline structures. And this goes on top of the skin. And then what happens is that the natural infrared, or what we kind of, don't really see as a visible light, but kind of more feel as heat, this is going to be something that as this hits this, geometrical array, it is going to be filtered through this and changed. It's shaping the way that this light then travels in the body. And that matters because different wavelengths of light or, different frequencies of light are going to have different effects on the body. Many of you, again, if you've used any red light therapy, infrared therapy from exogenous devices or tools like the kind that I'm helping to design now, you'll know that they advertise certain wavelengths, 635 nanometers, 850 nanometers. And these are advertised because they are denoted in research as having specific effects to be able to reach certain tissues, stimulate certain processes, right? The thing is that this is even better than working with these devices because this is actually using your body's own infrared to be able to send this signal. This is a language by which it's already familiar with. So in this diagram, you'll see that we have, again, those lattice array or those kind of geometrical crystalline structures. And you can kind of see how that by virtue of when we bring light or the energy of light into the mix, this has direct, frequency equivalence. And so when we have a certain crystalline structure, a certain geometry, that equals a certain light wave outcome. How does that exactly translate to the patch? I really look at LifeWave as almost being like a hologram, okay? And many people, when you think of hologram, you think of 3D. 3D is just the effect of that. How we actually get there is a 2D flat surface. That's where that you could make the analogy that that 2D hologram where we have that information that is going to be backlit with the laser to then create the illumination effect that we experience as the hologram. This is your patch. This is your LifeWave patch, that 2D flat crystalline surface. Your light here is not an exogenous laser. It is the infrared light from your body. You've ever seen those thermography or the night vision goggles and you see the light that is made visible through this technology. We wouldn't normally see it that way with our own eye, but that is an energy, right? And that exists within the human body. And so from that, depending on what kind of crystalline array that we are getting, these different patches have different designs. We are able to create different frequency outcomes that travel through the body in 3D, and they will stimulate various cellular activities. So how do we know that this really happens? How do we know that a certain crystalline structure is actually going to produce a certain frequency outcome? LifeWave actually is going to test for that. They're not just saying to take their word for it. They will actually utilize technology to make sure that these crystalline arrays are producing this light wave, okay? You can kind of think of the flat surface, this LifeWave patch, as the coded information in a 2D format, again, that is going to serve as the precursor to create that effect in 3D in the body. And they're in fact able to measure that stabilized geometry produces this specific frequency, okay? That's still only half of the battle. I'll get to the other half here in just a moment. But they can verify that in fact we do have those frequencies that are produced from these particular arrays. Another thing that I found that really distinguished LifeWave, coming from a science background myself, is that the inventor or the founder is a scientist. And working both as a scientist and then going into more clinical practice later, I saw that as a clinician, you can identify a lot of needs in the public. You're the first to start seeing what's going on in the trenches, what kind of symptoms are coming out. But that doesn't necessarily mean that because you're able to see that you can engineer something that fixes that problem. Being able to say, hey, this is what we need, and being able to make that so that it actually does in the body what we need it to do, that's a different talent. That's going to be somebody who engineer, inventor, scientist, etc. And we get that with Dave. So I was very impressed by his past history of the Department of Defense and, having that typical conventional kind of background, if you will. So really we get respect in both circles, right? LifeWave is a technology that it's not going to be something that, if you have these more conventional backgrounds, that you have to be afraid to discuss this because it's too woo. It's exactly the opposite of that. And I really enjoyed that about having this from a science or scientist-based founder. Now, with that said, there is, what we can measure from the patch, right? We know that this produces those specific frequencies based on those unique crystalline geometrical arrays, but does that have any effect in the body? So what if we know that when we measure this, that it produces a certain frequency? Does that frequency go and talk to the tissues in the body that it's supposed to talk to create this effect, right? And we see that. LifeWave is also partnering to do independent research, and we're able to see that these frequencies that are supposed to stimulate said tissues, cells, receptors, etc., and increase an endogenous production of whatever it may be, glutathione, epithalamin, carnosine, etc., is doing that, okay? We're able to see that we can go through and actually measure a physical outcome and see that we raise copper peptide levels, okay? So this is something that is energy-based, right? We're working with your own light to be able to stimulate physical changes in the body. Just because that this is not physical doesn't mean it can't have physical effects. I remind you of the periodic table of elements, all those numbers and everything that are on there. This is your energy potential, okay? It's what tells the chemistry how to do chemistry. So if you really want to get to the root, the deepest root is to work in the energy realm, to work with light, right? Light, in particular, in this case, is something that we're not even having to supply to the body. We're actually using what the body has. So there is also, the full spectrum research here to show that this does translate to having these effects in the human body. So who is LifeWave ideal for? First of all, I think it's important to understand that LifeWave is not, going in there and overriding what the body does. Much in the world of supplements, even if they are very much needed, they're going in there and they stand to potentially maybe in short term create something that looks like it's fixing the situation, but can be followed by what I call a secondary imbalance. That's because nature doesn't work with these exaggerated isolate doses, okay? And in order for us to be able to take high isolate doses of something, we actually have to already be a very good canvas to be able to run. If we're giving high extracts of supplements and the body isn't in a condition to do a high performance, you're going to crash, okay? And I've seen that all too frequently. I appreciate what LifeWave does by going in and really prioritizing correctness over quantity. You don't need a higher dose of something, you need the correct dose. How do we know what the correct dose is? Because dosing is the biggest nemesis to any physician and or clinician. It's the hardest thing to get right, especially in pediatrics. This is something that takes dosing out of the equation because your body's doing the dosing. Your body will always know what is the proper dose for you, how much that your cell's optimization point is set to. If we're stimulating that, we're always in the balance zone, right? We're not overdoing it. We're not underdoing it. One example that I want to give before I wrap this up to send it on to the next speaker is think of something like, melatonin. First of all, there's a lot of corruption and not a lot of standardization in a lot of the melatonin products that are over the counter these days, but the pineal gland varies up to 20-fold within individuals. And how much melatonin that you need that's right for your body is based around that surface volume of the pineal gland. If I am the same weight, height, etc., everything is you, my pineal gland has a different surface volume. The amount of melatonin I need versus somebody else is different, okay? You might be that person that reacts bad to the supplement and says, well, this supplement isn't for me. Is it not for you, or is it because of the fact that it was too much for you? So using something like the Silent Nights in that case, is going to help to allow you to create and boost and optimize what your body has already established as that balance point for you. Today, we're mostly focusing on the X39. Many people kind of consider that the gateway, right, to being able to get things standardized in the foundation. That's because what this is doing is it's really talking to the tissues, and that tissue is that canvas of the body that has to do this work for you. So it would make sense that by being able to kind of get this rhythm to be correct, that everything else becomes viable. If you want to take supplements, sometimes they can be strategic and they can help. But you can't put supplements in, you can't put hardware into a system where that the system is really a software issue. So that's what really we do with LifeWave is we go in there and we're software engineers and we update that software, we reboot it. Individuals that are sensitive, that react, that have had chronic illness, and they can't really take much of anything. This is the product for them. This is something that I saw clinically that when I have somebody that can't tolerate anything, I've dealt with people that couldn't have water, okay? They had to have distilled water. They ended up in the hospital. LifeWave is something that was an option for me whenever I was in a corner thinking, what can I give this person? And what's more is it helped these people to show improvement. Okay, so it wasn't just tolerated, it was actually able to help restore this rhythm that we speak of. People who are on limited budgets. How many of you have, if you're a practitioner, those clients or patients that say, I can only do one thing. Okay, so how can I get results with just the one thing? If you're going to pick the one thing, this is it. Okay, I've never had to have anybody be convinced of LifeWave once that they experience the patches for themselves. They are then asking me about what patch might be beneficial for them next. And lastly, those of you who might have already a lot of, supplements or medications and things that you are managing, if that's already a nightmare trying to think about what is a contraindication, well, if I add this, will it be okay to take with this? None of that is a concern when you're dealing with LifeWave. This is not working in the realm of chemistry. It is working in the realm of what creates the chemistry. And let me tell you, I have had individuals who have run out of supplements for whatever reason, didn't refill. Maybe they were, trying to cut expenses. And they ran out of the supplements expecting that they're going to actually experience a regression in their health, only to see that because they just prioritize, okay, let me do the patch, it's easy, I'll take a break from all the supplement madness, and then see that their health actually improved exponentially from that. So I could go on and on, but there's, many different points of view, many different speakers from many different fields who will continue that conversation. But this really is the most clinically powerful tool that I've ever come across. And it's the perfect marriage of, science and evidence-based while still being something that is translating to what real people can do. You put a patch on and you go on with your day.
Amazing. Okay. Oh, that's amazing. There's like all these things. People are just commenting what you said, like, yes, software update. Okay, so what we are going to try to do is we're going to try to keep this for 5 minutes for each practitioner. That may or may not happen. So if you have to get off at an hour, go ahead. There'll be a replay. But next I'm going to invite on Dr. Kathleen. And so we are basically, the way this is going to go is I've already introduced her. So she's just going to briefly reintroduce. I'm going to mute.
Who the heck is that?
Whoever
Oh my goodness.
is speaking. Okay. And then basically what we're doing here is we're talking about why we are willing to look at this tool. What made this stick out? What we're seeing clinically, personally, all of that. So I'm just going to let Dr. Kathleen take it away.
First, I just want to say, Veronica, that was amazing. I got excited all over again. That's absolutely it. We've all been piling on supplements and protocols and things when the operating system is electrical. It's the light, it's the mitochondria. What happens there first, and then the rest of it. And so I applaud you. That was just so great. I loved it. As Ashley said, I'm a naturopath. My husband's a medical doctor. We have combined, I'm probably the oldest here, so just saying I should get some award or something. But we have combined probably close to 80 years of health care, whether it's allopathic. We both worked in the hospital for years and years. He was a hospitalist and an ER doctor, and I was in cardiovascular diagnostics. We both had a naturopathic clinic in our home, had the horse rescue. And so we saw both sides of it. and what was offered out there. And I can tell you, we spent, well, hundreds of thousands of dollars on healthcare equipment and supplements and all kinds of things over the years. And I can say that this product, which is why I'm back and going 100 miles an hour, this product is more amazing. It has produced more results that we've seen in the 2 years, close to 2 years. No, it is 2 years. Yay! It's 2 years now that we've been doing this LifeWave product. We have seen more miraculous and health changes than in all our 80 years. Now, this makes me cry. Because think about that. Just sit with that thought for a minute. That something so simple as this patch can do that. You know, it has to be a God thing. It just has to be. And if you listen to David and how he prays before he receives things, and then you see the beautiful arrangement of how these patches were designed and how eloquently put Veronica did on how this is put together. It was so beautiful. It's just the miracle that the world has cried out for. And I know I sound sort of evangelistic right now, but you know what? I am, and I'm not apologizing for it. It is the thing that's going to change the world, and the world needs LifeWave now. It needs it now. And had I had it back in the days when I was taking care of those sick people, so desperate to be well, they would have given anything for this. And most of them now are gone. They didn't have this opportunity. So I am so committed that this gets out to as many people as I can. And as my friend Thora says, once you realize what this is, what you have in your hands, it becomes a moral obligation to share it. It just is. It just is. We have, especially if anybody that's on here is they're either sick or they're somebody who helps people get well. And either side that you're on, this is what you've been praying for. This is it. My personal miracle that came, I had a horse rescue, as Ashley said, for 23 years. I got kicked by a horse. I was this far behind it and bammed right underneath my belly button. Down on the ground I went, and I was in and out of consciousness. I thought it probably hit my aorta, and I had about 90 seconds. But praise God, it didn't. And I prayed that my husband would come to the window and see me. He did, got to the hospital, made it here today. And I do believe, not the only reason, but one of the reasons is for that very thing, that I could be here now and in the last 2 years and the next, 60 years that I'm going to be alive and doing this, is for this very thing. Because this is what we've all been crying out for. Now, what ended up happening from that really severe trauma of that kick, the force, the impact of that, is I ended up with a massive scar that was as big around as my index finger, wrapped just under my belly button, from one hip bone to another, and then around to my right flank, and about 30 scars that went out from that. And I had all sorts of equipment and techniques and everything that I used on it, because that's a bad scene. You end up with energy can't move through scars, blood flow can't move through scars. They continue to propagate and they create havoc in the body. So I worked every single day, and I mean every day, on that scar, and nothing, I mean, it didn't budge. I did a special massage technique every single morning before I got out of bed to check the status of it. Nothing. Put this patch on, X39, and never thought about that. Truth be told, I was thinking, I'm going to look younger. I'm going to have some wrinkles go away. It was more of a vanity thing that I was thinking about. But lo and behold, God knew what he was doing. And day 10, I'm doing my little massage in the morning before I get out of bed. And that massive big chunk or big rope of a scar was in chunks. And 2 days later, on day 12, it was completely gone, along with all the little scars, totally gone. So that's when I called the person who had introduced it to me, a colleague also at the Institute of Applied Quantum Biology, and said, "You're not going to believe this, but," and I'm going to get with this David Schmidt, and I'm going to get this around the world. I have to. So that's my story.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I keep forgetting I'm muted. Amazing, Kathleen. Thank you for sharing. Next, we have Dr. Mason coming on. So where are you at, Mason? I'm at Mason.
Right.
There you are.
Yes. Yeah, you were sitting right behind me at the conference, and I'm glad I met you because big shout out to you. Almost 200 people in this live. So that's a huge testament to what you've put together and all these practitioners and what LifeWave is just doing in general, right? So a little bit about me. I am a brain-based chiropractor. I practice something called zone technique, which is based around what it says. There's 6 different parts of the brain that send signals down to different systems of the body. So my job is to figure out what system is out of balance and rebalance it through adjusting the spine and various other techniques. I also do applied kinesiology, which some of you may be familiar with, just a form of muscle testing around organ points and things like that. So very natural, holistic minded. And last year I was introduced something called stem cell exosomes. There's stem cells, and then stem cells, to do the work they release exosomes. So we've kind of gone straight to the source of regeneration. Incredible stuff if you can afford it, right? It is a little pricey. So when I was introduced to LifeWave patches, somebody reached out to me on Facebook, of course, and said, "Hey, I see you're doing this great stuff with stem cells or the exosomes. Have you heard about these patches?" I said, I'd seen them kind of here and there, but nobody had really sat me down to explain anything. And so he took me out to lunch and he told me all the great stuff that he saw himself with his ADHD, with his foot. He had foot surgery. It wasn't the same. Applied the patches. 10 days later, he's running a couple miles, right? With his mom's back, with other people that he was giving it to, with their blood sugar. So here's a guy that has zero medical knowledge, really, and he's helping people that, sometimes it takes a little bit, or maybe I even struggle with. And so here's Joe off the street giving the patch to his friend, helping with stuff that, I'm kind of still struggling with, or it takes a bit. So when he was explaining everything to me, it just kind of clicked home, and I'm very much into, the holistic everything and light. And who was there at the conference and watched the movie? I've got this, I don't know if you guys can see, is it Sacred Geometry? I've got so I'm very much into sacred geometry and holistic stuff. And when they played that video, I was like, I'm kind of in the right place. I feel like I'm in the right place. So, my own personal experience, I do a lot of stuff for my health, but some things that I noticed when I applied the patch myself, just the energy boost, circadian rhythm came back. I felt like I was getting tired at night when I'm supposed to get tired. Everything with blue light really affects circadian rhythm and our mitochondria a lot. So I felt like that's a big thing. And even I wasn't expecting it to, but I was kind of getting a little thinning at my crown, at 30 years old. And I was like, shoot. But it has really, in 3 to 4 months, grown back a lot and thicker and fuller. So that's a little plus for me. And that's not uncommon for a lot of people, right? A lot of people will see better hair, less wrinkles. And for all of my patients so far, I mean, it's just kind of a no-brainer because most people can afford it. I've just thrown it into my own, care plans, or I pretty much bring it up to everybody because why wouldn't you? If you can help people get better, faster, longer results using their own body's light energy source, why wouldn't you, right? So when you explain it to people, most people will get that. And the real results usually better energy, better sleep, better recovery, of course, less pain. And for, the ladies, they want less wrinkles, better hair. So it's pretty incredible what happens when it doesn't get any simpler than putting in a patch for 12 hours. As a practitioner, it's something so simple. And it's also allowed me to, I was kind of stuck to where I could just see people that would come see me, right? Personally, my brick and mortar. But this has allowed me to, that person in New York that is asking for help, get some of these patches. So it's just opened up a whole new pathway to where I can help more people. I can help people that come see me quicker. And I feel like it's just a no-brainer for practitioners and everybody, right? And I think it's amazing that you don't have to be a practitioner and you can help your friends, your family, your loved ones, your coworker. Just like it's given the power to anybody to help anybody heal, which I love. So I think that's the big thing for me. And yeah, that's my experience so far. I haven't been in it for long, like 3, 4 months, but I'm super happy to be here. And I look forward to meeting a bunch of you guys, hopefully on the Bahamas troop. So I'll see you guys soon.
Amazing.
Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I love what you said about just putting the power back into like the average person's hands, because that's like what was taken away from us as humans. And so now we get to put that back in. And now your friend that was not a practitioner was like helping more people, not helping more people than you, but you know what I mean? All right. We have next up is Renita. And I don't know if it's Renita and Scott or just Renita.
It's just me, beautiful. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I feel so unworthy to be on the Zoom tonight. Can I just say that? I'm like the college dropout. I mean, I was in school for my doctorate in holistic nutrition and naturopathy, and actually my college that I was going to closed mid-pandemic. So, but when I'm hearing this wisdom and this expertise and this genius level of speaking, I feel so honored, you guys, to be here. You're all tremendous. Wow. I'm over here. If you're watching my mouth, I'm going, wow. Wow. I mean, each one of you, Mason, of course, Dr. Kathleen. I mean, I'm telling you what, you guys, we have our hands on something so spectacular, so special, so unique. And like you said, the world needs to know about this. It's so easy that you have lay people. They're not even in health. They're just lay people having a product experience, sharing it with dozens of their friends. Are you kidding me? Like this is such an easy tool to be able to share. So yeah, I got started, and if I can share, Ashley, mine is not going to be as science-based and analytical, although I love all of that. Boy, that just feeds my spirit when you guys are talking like that. I need all that because I am kind of a bookworm, and I love all things science-based, and the fact that we can combine science with nature really gets me fired up. So am I able to share there? So this is my beautiful mama. This is the reason I started, you guys, and we were shared the patch on a friend of mine out of Canada who was an awesome nurse. And let me just say this. She was a nurse that actually had written a book about energy medicine. She was a Christian practitioner who was really into alternative therapies because, of course, we know many nurses. If there's any nurses in the house, you're amazing. And they deal with so many people, and they kind of are the caretakers. Sometimes they know more than the MDs, and I'm not saying know more than the MDs about the situation, but with the patient, because they're dealing with patient care. And so she reached out to me one day, and she said, "You got to get your mom on this patch. I know your mom has a neurodegenerative condition. Mason, I'd love to come see you. But, you know, anything, I'm just a student of the brain. I'm obsessed with the brain, right? Neural patterns. I mean, just all of it." And so she said, my neighbor lady with Parkinson's had downright miracles. And she said, "You got to try your mom on this patch." And she didn't explain the science, but she had me at the word miracle. And I will tell you this. We've been in the company now for 3.5 years. You know, we're top 4 in the company. And I'm not any of the wisdom and brilliance of everyone that just spoke, but I do have a crazy passion for people. And I'm obsessed with people getting well and getting out of the system of darkness and into the light. So my mom on the 11th day, of course, had a massive transformation with her gait. Her penmanship came back. Her voice came back because, of course, with Parkinson's, they get very quiet and very small. She went from 169 pounds down to 97 pounds, and back with the patch, she got back up to 120 pounds. We bought her a punching bag and called her Rocky. True story. She's out in my kitchen right now, guys. So my mom is peeling potatoes, peeling apples, has zero tremor, completely transformed my mom's life. Now, is she completely symptom-free? No. Has it absolutely enhanced her quality of life? Absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I said to her one day, we would go back to those Parkinson's classes that we were going to, but everybody's dead. And I said, and you're not. You know, you're outliving everybody, and it's with the quality of life. And so that was the first miracle we saw. And the second miracle, many of you have seen this picture. This was my dad. And when this happened, it was literally like I could not stop talking about this thing, because we had been doctoring for 6 months. And you know, that older generation, they love to doctor with their medical doctor. So we were going to Mayo Clinic. And honestly, we had gone to 11 different types of doctor. I mean, one of his doctors sent me a note in the medical system when I started asking about homocysteine. And the doctor actually said to me in the note, in the app of the hospital, "You're opening a can of worms, Renita." That's what the doctor said to me. I mean, I can't even believe this, right? This is our medical system. So long story short, we had no relief in 6 months. My dad's legs would not stop dripping. He literally carried around a rag and witch hazel. That's what he did all day long, was like wipe these oozing legs. And that morning when my mom asked to make breakfast, for the first time in 2.5 years, my mom offered to make breakfast. Can you imagine? "Hey, Scott and Nita, can I make you some eggs?" And I was like, what is going on? And where's the walker, right? Long story short, my dad was sitting at the kitchen table that morning. I knew the hell and high water we had been through, because I was the one running them to all these doctor's appointments all over. And I said, "Dad, can we put one of these patches on you?" And my dad looked at me and he goes, "What is it?" I thought it was for Parkinson's. I said, "Honestly, I'm not exactly sure what it's for yet. But I trust Doris, because she's a wise old owl in natural health." And I said, "Let's just try it, Dad." And we put it on he said, "Let's throw it on." We put it on his shoulder, a place on his body where he didn't have that gross, oozing skin. And the next morning we came back, you guys, and the picture on the right was 24 hours later. I mean, the marine chicken legs were back, baby. And when he opened the front door, if you've been with somebody on a healing journey and they've had a breakthrough, you know that emotion that comes over you. I was on the ground crying, like thanking Jesus. And my dad looks down at me on the floor. I'm on my knees. And my dad looks at me and he goes, "Get up." He goes, "Where can I get some more of those patches? It looks like that little sticker worked." And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. It looks like that little sticker worked. I ran you to Mayo Clinic 18 hours away and back. And so that is how our journey started. And my conviction and my certainty is what has grown this thing. I am not a Dr. Mason. I am not a Dr. Kathleen. But I tell you what, I have a passion for people. And I love people crawling out of that disgruntled system and embracing the light in whatever modality of healing they choose. But this is an easy, like Dr. Mason said, what an easy tool. I mean, affordable, easy to use, easy to administer. You can help people from around the planet. I will tell you, we have about close to 200,000 people on our team now. And we are literally going to be launching. My background is I'm a clinical exercise specialist. I have 25 health and fitness certifications in nutrition, fitness. Ashley, I was on the very crazy news NBC for 8.5 years. I was the NBC health and fitness expert. So I had my own segment on TV every single week, educating people about natural health and healing, of course, because that's my groove. And I realized in a hurry, you guys, nobody knows about phototherapy. And everybody needs to. And so that's why we started. And now we're launching probably one of the biggest campaigns you're ever going to see in your life with fitness professionals in Asia. So get ready for that. You're not going to see anything like you're about to see. When I'm telling you, we're launching the largest thing in Asia Pacific. Get ready to have. It is like every nutritionist, personal trainer, clinical exercise specialist, anybody who knows anything about fitness is going to be sharing this patch technology over in Asia. So get ready. It's a big deal. So the opportunity is ripe. It's only because the miracles are plentiful here. So I'm thankful for everybody here tonight. Wow. Your knowledge base and your wisdom honestly just humbles me. As I'm listening, I almost want to cry because you guys are so awesome. And I just, when I get around brilliance, sometimes I cry. So that's it. Ashley, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you. I love you and Tommy, and I'm so proud of you guys, what you're building here.
Love you too. Thanks for being on. Yeah, Pearl, anytime I watch videos of Pearl dancing on Facebook, me and Tommy are just like, oh, I'm just crying, because I tell people this patch isn't just like a life-changing product. It truly is a life-saving product. And this isn't medical claims. Sure, like we could throw out completely all the science and just tell you all anecdotal stories all day long. I mean, it's quite bizarre. All right, so next we're going to invite on Dr. Ed. If you're available, Dr. Ed.
Sure. Hi. Yeah.
Hello.
So, I have stories about my personal experience with overnight decrease in 80% of the pain that I had from Achilles tendonitis that I'd had for months. And my wife had kind of debilitating fatigue for a couple of years, and within hours that was changed. But I'll tell you, go back a step, that I first heard of the patches, I think 3 years ago. And as an anesthesiologist, if you're good at your job, it's a very boring job. And so that gave me many, many years of sitting in the operating room studying about what I was curious about. And photobiomodulation was one of those things that I did a lot of reading about. And in my mind, when I first heard about these patches, I said, how can this stupid little sticker that you stick on your body do something? Because I'm expecting that you need lasers, big light panels, a lot of wattage, a lot of power. And so I blew it off. And 2.5 years later, a friend came to visit my wife and myself, and she'd been using the patches, and she gave some to us to try. And my wife used them and had a rapid response. And she said to me, come on, won't you stick this thing on? And, and I did, and I had a result. But my biggest hang up about it, well, let me take a step back. I am very willing to change my position when I am presented with better information. And I had a personal experience that was better information, so I knew that I had to change my position. But my biggest hang up about it, and the biggest hang up that most of the people that I deal with, is that it is a network marketing company. And I had to re-educate myself about that and get past my overeducated belief system on that one. And really, part of why this is sold through people like all of us here tonight who are evangelists of this is because it's so far outside of the current paradigm that this little tiny sticker that's basically a fancy mirror can use your body's energy to create miraculous results is an absolutely foreign concept. And the only way that it can be sold is by people telling their stories and by people talking to people that they trust. And so, frankly, in my practice, I have a very, very close relationship with my patients. And it took me about a month of thinking about this and realizing that I had something miraculous in my hands. And was I going to let my ego and my fear of other people's judgment prevent me from telling folks about something that I really thought could benefit them? And I realized that if I didn't tell it, I was being selfish and I wasn't doing the mission that I've been put here on this earth to do. So I had to swallow my pride and get brave and talk to people about it. And every single one of us that's here talking about that has had to get that braveness, because it's very hard to risk judgment. So this is kind of a quick just to say that everything you've heard is true. Just this patch supports your body to do things that by conventional and alternative standards just should not happen. And it doesn't happen that way with everybody. You absolutely have to be patient. Your body's wisdom is going to direct what it heals first, and that might be something internally like your heart or your kidneys or your liver that you aren't going to feel. You might want it to fix your back pain or your shoulder, but all in due time. But anybody who has the slightest curiosity about this or the slightest thought in their head as they're listening to this, maybe this would help me, maybe this would help somebody that I know. I just ask you to be brave and give it a try, and stick with it. The saddest day for any one of us is if somebody does this for 1 or 2 or 3 months and says, oh, it didn't work for me, so I'm going to stop, because we all know, I am convicted on this, that if you are patient with it, you are going to see results. So I'll keep it short. That's my message. Give it a try. Talk to whoever got you on here, and you're going to be pretty surprised, I think, with the results.
Thank you, Dr. Ed. I love that. Yeah, I tell people will say, well, I don't want the kit. I just want to get one sleeve. I say, then don't get it at all. I just flat out tell people that. And they're kind of like, oh, I'm like, don't get it at all. If you're not going to give it at least the core kit, don't even order it. And they're like, okay, I'm ordering it. The core kit at least. All right. Next, we're going to bring on Tori. Are you on here, Tori?
I am.
Okay, there you are. Hello, beautiful.
Okay, so hi, I'm Tori. I'm a nutritionist and mother of 2 littles. And I was going through a really toxic mold situation. And Ashley and I didn't know each other, but we were practitioner friends from Instagram, which is like a beautiful thing about social media because we kind of do the same thing. And she messaged me about them, and I was doing all the things. We were doing the mold detox and we were going through remediation and all this stuff, but my son was not sleeping. And he went from having these like swollen adenoids and swollen tonsils. And, I had home births. My kids were super healthy. They had never really been to a doctor. And I was freaking out. He wasn't sleeping and he was sick all the time. And they wanted to take his tonsils out. And, I don't believe in taking out organs. So I'm like, what's going on? What's the root cause of this? And anyway, he was still not sleeping and I was at my wit's end, and Ashley reached out again and she was like, just try them. And so day 3, oh my God, I'm like going to cry. I haven't like said this in a long time. Day 3, he slept through the night on silent nights. And I was like, I don't care if this is actually like a placebo. Like I needed the sleep so bad. I was so sick. And so then she was like, now you need to wear them. And I still I'm one of those people that I will not promote anything. And I get things sent to me all day long that I will not promote anything unless I do it on myself and my family. And so this is one of those things where I was like, okay, I need to dig into this research. Like, yeah, my son's sleeping, but I was having chronic sinus infections from the mold. I was putting them on my face and my sinus infections were getting so much better. I actually wrote down a couple of things because I have so many clients using them that I wanted to make sure that I hit the most important ones. But so basically, fast forward, I started using them as I would a supplement. So I do a lot of lab work, and so I see a client, I do their labs, we go through them, and I create a protocol. And now this is something that I use in their protocol, just like I would put a supplement. And so I saw a client that had lifelong eczema as a 37-year-old male, completely gone. people that have these migraines that they're on medication for, they would use them preventively and then also put it on for during the migraine, and it would be gone without medication. Women that had lifelong period pains and PCOS, gone. My father-in-law, who's older and had a full knee replacement, using it for surgery, had his doctor was saying, like, I can't believe you're recovering this quickly. And just, I could go on and on and on for hours with all these incredible things. And I'm going to be honest, like, it took me I've probably been doing this 10 months, and it probably took me like 6 months to really like commit, because I was like, how is this sticker? And I understood the science, I read it, but I was like, how is this sticker doing this? Like, it's incredible. And, I am able to use less supplements with some people. And like I said, I'm like, okay, you're going to do these 2 patches, and we're going to do these 3 supplements. And I give them, this is what we're going to eat. And people are able to reach their goals so much faster using the patches, alongside a protocol, but it's pretty incredible. And even one of my first testimonials on my Instagram that I shared was my sister had this, I guess I could pull it up, but my sister had this rash on her armpit, and it was like kind of like a eczema rash. And every time she would be stressed out or didn't sleep, or, she's young, it would flare. But she had this for 3 years, and she tried every single cream, every detox, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, let's just try it. And she put the patch on her armpit, and the next day it was gone, and it hasn't come back. It's on my Instagram. I don't know if you want to pull it up, but anyway, I am like so thankful to Ashley for doing this, like getting these patches to me and my family. Oh, I also have my husband's hair is wild. In 4 months, I kind of just was like putting him on. He's like, whatever. He was putting it on his shoulders. Pain was gone. He's stoked, but like he had a little balding going on. He's 45. And I took a picture, a before and after picture, and I was like, I could not believe it. I was like, he's like, I kind of felt like in the shower there was like more hair, but I can't see back there. And I like looked at it, and I was like, oh my gosh, you have like so much hair growing. And the amount of people that care about their hair was wild when I shared that. They were like, wow, people, like it's I mean, men too, right? You do care. So that's a little bit just about me and my journey and my family. So I think there's a before and after, but anyway, yeah, that's that before and after. But it's they're incredible, and I love the fact that you can use them for different things. And thank you, Ashley, for bringing us all together and making me do it, because I was pretty. I'm a hard sell sometimes, but
yeah, you're my favorite people. The hard sell. Those are who I get along with. People are like, I remember we were messaging. You were like, I'm not doing this, thank you. And I replied, and I'm like, yes, you are. Order them now. And
I was overwhelmed.
I do it in different ways to different people, but that's kind of how I am. Me and Tori are very similar. So
yeah, I can handle it. I just
thanks, Tori. And Tori is who I was saying she runs Solace, which is the women's law support group. So you guys should, I know that's off topic, but it's a really incredible. Is it a nonprofit?
No, one day, but right now we're not.
Okay. So next we're going to bring on Hannah. Hannah is a newer member of my team from Australia, and she is going to come on and introduce herself. Actually, yeah, Hannah's on here. I've been seeing her comment. So let me.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Cool. Thanks for having me on here. And I'm so excited to be amongst other practitioners talking about how amazing this product is. I want to start by saying I'm a holistic nutritional biochemist. And after having my own practice for 2 years, I started really realizing that nutrition could only really take you so far. And I really wanted to acknowledge the emotional side of things. So I ended up going and doing a lot of somatic therapy training, specifically in polyvagal theory. And so that's where my body of work was for a couple of years. And then I realized, hang on a second, that can only take you to a certain level as well. My mum is a quantum health biologist, so I'm so blessed to be educated by my beautiful mum. And my dad, unfortunately, has a neurological disability. So my mum and I have been self-educating about, my mum's a root cause protocol practitioner as well. So I'd been self-educating through everything that my mum was studying. And yeah, then we found the patches, and my dad is basically our biggest test dummy. We don't tell him what we're doing. We just put the patches on him and see how he goes. So he hadn't driven for 10 years, hadn't walked on the beach, like we live in a beachside suburb, hadn't gone for a swim for 15 years. And after 9 days of wearing the X39, he just woke up and said to my mum, I'm going to drive today. And my mum was just like, what are you talking about? And he said, I no longer have the vestibular issues. I feel balanced. And so he went driving, and he's been driving ever since. And they're about 4 or 5 months into their patching journey. We've recently just introduced the Aeon to him. His neurological condition is like a chronic inflammatory condition. And after 2 days, he said, wow, this is really working for me. So it's amazing to be able to see it work on someone who you really care about. But I think the biggest shifts with him is being able to see that he's got his personality back. Like, he turned to me in the garden one day doing some gardening and was just like, hey, Bub, how you going? And it was just like that level of connection, engagement I hadn't really felt for a long time. So that was cool. And then I suppose the biggest thing for me was actually feeling the experience for myself. So I had really chronic, and I'm talking long-term 12 months activation of a virus that affected the lower half of my body. Getting up and walking and taking care of kids and being in chronic pain, it was such a struggle. And then on top of that, I ended up getting like a chronic septic arthritis in my finger, had to have emergency surgery, ended up having like 2 weeks of IV antibiotics. And the list kind of goes on. But the recovery from that, I pieced myself back together mentally and emotionally, but physically nothing was touching the edges. I was doing all of my own nutritional stuff. I was addressing the environmental factors of it. I ended up resorting to pharmaceutical medicine to be able to shut the virus down and to manage the pain that I was in. And I said to my mum the day before I started wearing the patches, I'm like, I'm really struggling to accept that this is going to be my new normal. Why is nothing touching, like nothing getting in there deep? So I messaged Ashley and I asked if they were safe breastfeeding because I have a little one, and she said she nurses. So I patched up, and 3 days later I woke up with no pain. 5 days later, I was like dancing and singing in the kitchen. And I swear to you, my 1-year-old son looked at me like, hey, I've never seen you like this, because I'd really been struggling pretty much his whole life. And now I want to be the ripple effect in the community here in Australia. And I'm really focusing on practitioner education and teaching people how they can use this like complementary to the things that they're already doing. But I think it's really cool to say that you can do all of the things. You can do the nutrition and all of the lifestyle stuff, but the patches don't discriminate. You can put it on someone who's has no capacity to do that type of stuff, and they're still going to make a difference. And this is what I say to my mum. Me and my mum are each other's like cheerleaders, basically. I'm like, this is real medicine. Like, it's been so good to be able to come off pharmaceutical medicine, and now I selectively supplement mainly just with like electrolytes and minerals, making sure that I'm giving the body the right conductivity to be able to be using the patches effectively. And yeah, I'm just so excited. I honestly am talking to my lecturers at uni, like sharing with them the science behind it, why I believe in it, why to look past the business model, because just like Dr. Ed said, like that is probably the biggest thing that I'm finding resistance to. But Ashley and I are in constant conversations just about opening up the dialogue, sharing these personal stories. And the reality is just that like pharmaceutical reps are getting commissions and incentives and things like this and the doctors are getting incentives to prescribe medicine. Why should we have this stigma around us because we're sharing that something that's way beyond? It's like, this is the wellness technology of the future. And the last thing is just that, like, I'm such a firm believer in natural medicine, and I'm such a firm believer that we have the capacity to heal inside ourselves. And these patches really just wake this up. It's just like they're reminding the body how to work, and this is true natural medicine.
Woo! I don't know if anyone else is covered in chills, but I am. Hannah, I love you. We have a lot of fun. We have like a separate Telegram chat because I don't think we could text because you're in Australia. And we've built out some really awesome like, talk about nerd, geek. How many pages is that document we built out for the practitioners? And it has like, I mean, it's just crazy because Hannah and I are like on our own single mission, along with all of you guys I know, to transform the health model. And we know that we can't really go into, because a lot of people say, oh, well, the medical system is broken, but it's not broken because it was designed to be that way. But we can go and we can teach people a new way and give the power back. So I'm really excited for this. Everyone's like dying for the recording, even though they're already on the call. They all just want to watch this again. Okay. So thank
Ashley,
you,
I just
Hannah.
want to say what this does is it allows you to extract yourself from the medical system and put yourself into a health paradigm. Two different things.
I love that. I'm writing that really quick. Extract yourself from the medical system into the healthcare. I love that. Okay. Our last guest, but not least, is Meredith. If you can come on.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you so much for this like absolutely phenomenal lineup. So good to see everybody. My name's Meredith Oak. I am the host of a podcast called the Quantum Biology Podcast. So I had, my own health journey, and similar to what I've heard from a lot of you, I did the food, I did the supplements, I did the acupuncture, I did all the things that all the people told me to do, and it didn't budge. And then I discovered light. And I have done like hundreds of hours of interviews with different researchers, scientists, practitioners, people with stories of recovery, learning that our biology evolved outside under the sun with light. So light literally drives all of our biology. And so this was the rabbit hole that I was down. And that I was spending all of my time learning about. I am not a practitioner either, and I'm not a scientist. I am an English major and an executive coach. And so I'm like, but I just had to know, and I had to make sure this information got organized in a way that regular people could understand. Like, light drives life. That's it. That's just it. Light drives life in every capacity. So then when my doctor said that he had a new thing for me to try, I was like, okay. And similar to like what Tori has said, and similar to what Ed said and other people, I'm like not a product person. And people like, you have this podcast talking about wellness. And I'm like, I know, but I'm actually intrinsically very lazy. And I don't like to have a lot of complicated things to do. And if you're going to talk to me about like 17 different supplements and then take a little of this and a little of that, like my head will explode and I will not do it. And the hydrogen water and all the things, I'm like, I'm just going to go outside and call it a day. And then my doctor was like, I have this new product. Will you try it? And I said, sure. And he sent it to me and I put it in a drawer and forgot about it. And then my friend and colleague Kathleen calls up and she's like, Meredith, listen to what happened. And she told the story. She told me the story that she told you earlier with this giant rope scar that she had put red light therapy on, that she had been massaging. She had done like all of the things. And I was like, what? Okay. I'm like, where did I put that envelope? So I went and found it. I put the X39 on. 10 minutes later, I had like a brain fog clearing. And I didn't even know it was there. It was just like Tuesday afternoon. This is what it's like to be me. And then I put the patch on and it's like, whew. And so between Kathleen's story and that, I just was like, okay, what is happening? And then because like a lot of you on here, I was like, okay, how is this working? What is going on? So then I went and I took the description of how it worked and I talked to every single person, every single expert that I knew. And these people are deeply researched in quantum biology and the way that light interacts with the body, similar to Veronica, who started off the call with her gorgeous presentation. That was fantastic. like super deeply researched people. And I sent them the information and they were all like, oh, wow, this is actually crazy. What is this? And like, they all were amazed. And I kept asking people because I'm like, this is some weird network marketing miracle. I'm going to keep asking until I find someone who's like, no, this can't work. And I didn't. Every single person, and you know, I'm in a weird niche, but they're all super, super deep into quantum biology and the science of light and how it interacts with our bodies. And every single one of them was like, wow, I can't believe this product exists. This is really amazing. So that's the story that I want to share, is that, you know, this is based on what I was learning about light. I didn't think a product like this would exist for another 20 years. Like it's so far ahead of everything else that's out there that it's difficult to describe. And yet here it is, and we have it. And even the laziest health protocol person like me, I use it every day because all I have to do is stick it on the back of my neck. And I have also noticed my husband was walking ahead of me on the path last week, and I was like, Jason, your bald spot's going away. So my husband, he did all the research too. He's been wearing them, and he put them on, and he was like, I don't know, I don't really notice anything, but I read the research, and so I'm going to keep wearing them. And 2 years later, his bald spot's going away, and he was having ear loss in one of his ears. Every year he would go for a physical. It would be worse and worse and worse and worse. He went in a couple weeks ago for his physical. He's like, oh, I have hearing loss in my right ear. They're like, yeah, I see that on your chart. They did the hearing test. They're like, your hearing's perfect. So I don't know, man. This is some crazy next level stuff, and we get to use it and have it and share it and change the paradigm.
Wow. Well, I think we can all just like say wow forever now after hearing this. This is just truly remarkable. And this is what we have our hands on. And this is why like people always be like, Ashley, like, how do you have time for this? And you make time for something like this. Like, I don't have extra time. I don't think any of us here have extra time, but this is highly important. And what I tell people is like, this is my duty to share with people. It is absolutely a disservice if I don't share this with people. And that's why I share it with people on the beach. And that's why I share it with people on the plane. And that's why I share it with people who look like they're having a hard time getting up out of chairs. Like I share it with everyone because everyone needs to know about this. And sometimes, you know, we share about it and people are not interested, but you know, you just keep pushing on, keep moving forward. So before we jump into the Q&A, number one, we're 13 minutes over, which I knew would be impossible to keep this at 1 hour. So I'm going to briefly show everyone how to check out because you all just learned about this patch and now you have to buy the patch in order for it to work. Because if you don't buy it, all of our stories are just stories and you're never going to have your own. So really quickly, I'm going to share how to check out. You're going to go back to the person that invited you to this call. And then we're going to jump into Q&As. For the practitioners that are on, if you cannot stay any longer, I totally understand. I have people dropping their questions. I will kind of be moderating that. If you need to hop off, completely understand. So really quickly, I'm just going to show you guys how to, where's that? Where's my Zoom? I'm going to show you how to check out because sometimes people get confused, but it's actually very simple to check out. So I don't know why this is so big. Let me see if it gets smaller if I do this. Okay. So when you get to the checkout page, whoever invited you to this call, you're going to text them, you're going to whatever, you're going to go get their link. In their link, it's going to take you to this. So it's going to say you've selected, so if it's me, you've selected me. If you've selected Meredith, if you selected Anita, it's going to say who it is. You're going to go and you're going to get one of these kits. The starter kit has no patches. We don't do the starter kit, okay? The core kit is if you just want to dip your toes in. Remember I said if you're not willing to do it for less than 3 months, don't do it at all. That's the core kit. That's 3 months of X39 for one person. The advanced kit is going to be 3 months worth of X39 for 2 people. And then if you're patching more than 2 people, you need to look at advanced plus or premium. So I wrote in the chat actually that Meredith's podcast with David is the podcast that I was listening to. And because Leland sent me the patches and I didn't know what they were. I didn't understand them. I listened to that podcast. He started talking about lobster blood and I'm just done. I hit pause. I buy the premium kit. I text Renita that night and I'm like, we're in. I don't know anything about direct sales. I've never done direct sales. I've never done anything. Anyways, so the premium kit, if you're a practitioner, if you're a large family, if you're someone who's serious about this, you're going to do that. That's it. You're going to select the kit. You're going to set up your monthly subscription and you're going to check out. And then once you check out, whoever signed you up is going to nurture you. So if you're someone on here who is signing people up, you need to be nurturing them. If you're on my team, we nurture you. If you're on my team and you're signing up people, we teach them how to nurture people. Okay, so that's how you do it. Get back with them, get their link. You're just going to go pick one of these kits. And the most common kit is probably the advanced kit. That's the three months for 2 people of X39. And that's just what I had to share. Okay, so we are going to jump into questions now. So tons of questions. If this is recorded, yes, it is recorded. I said as long as technology doesn't sabotage us, we will have a replay. It says it's recording, so it's recording, and then I will post that. The first question that came in, can someone talk to if once you have regained health, if you have to continue regularly with the patches, or can this be as needed? A little bit of conversations going on in here already. And I always love to explain this to people, but someone from our team, actually Shenandoah, wrote, I think of it like reverse aging. If you stop using them, they stop working. Now, that's not to say that all the cumulative benefits that you've experienced are all going to go away. That's like Kathleen's scar isn't coming back if she stops wearing the patches, okay? And then she says that Dr. Stillman has a really great video on this topic. And then Dr. Ed said, it's like going from being a couch potato to exercising. Getting healthier and then asking if you can stop exercising. Sure, you can, but expect that you're likely to start regressing your former couch potato state. And Dr. Veronica said, I find that you can decrease the wearing frequency in some cases, not because you do not benefit from it, but because you will start to want to rotate other patches as you see their synergistic effects. And I agree with that. Does anyone have any info on spike protein and actually lowering it? So if someone wants to interject here, they can, but I do remember from conference, a specific ingredient, nattokinase, potentially within the Cellergize product is actually, lowering or destroying or whatever happens to spike protein. It's doing that to spike protein.
That's correct.
Okay.
Awesome. Can I tell you what happened when David, during the pandemic, people that had been vaccinated, actually, David did a study with, I think it was a 50-person study out in a clinic on the East Coast. And actually he had to strip it off of YouTube because of course he got major heat for it. But he used X39 and glutathione patches on people. And we have many recorded videos and we talk to David often. So the blood looked really rough of all these people that had been vaccinated. Everybody had been vaccinated at least 6 months prior to this testing that they had done. So it wasn't like they were vaccinated last week. Long story short, they had them wear the X39 and glutathione for 30 days and come back in 30 days later. And their blood looked radically improved. Radically different, radically improved. And their symptoms, their physical symptoms that people were having, like the brain fog and all the craziness, literally was gone in many of them. And so that was kind of out there for the world to like watch and listen and witness. But then of course, when you take heat, when you're talking like that, we took it down. But I'm also a big believer in nattokinase as well, because he talks about that as well, and serrapeptase and all those great enzymes. But anyway, that was a little clinical study that he had done early on. If you go search for it, you may or may not find it.
Wow. I will be blasting that out. Okay, I had no idea.
But I almost feel like I have to, I'm like, Pernita, keep it quiet. Like, keep it on the down low. I feel like we're like the Underground Railroad.
I'll just be like, hey, does anyone have long COVID? Shoot me a DM.
Yeah.
And then the Cellergize we talked about is LifeWave's new electrolyte that they launched. There's an AM and PM and it has that ingredient. So you guys can find that on the site as well. Dr. Ed said something I like. It says, for people looking for specific problem testimonies, yes, they are out there. And I'm going to read exactly what he said and also like agree with this. If you want to investigate the possibilities, look up what each patch stimulates. So with X39, that's upregulating. This one right here, that's GHKCU. It's a copper peptide that is the glow peptide. And then go to AI, go to Google, whatever it is, and ask, what does GHKCU do with cancer, do with Parkinson's, do with whatever? And since we know that our patch is elevating that peptide, we then can kind of just imagine crossing out the word GHKCU with, LifeWave. Obviously, if you're posting this online, you can't say LifeWave does this to cancer. Like, that's a great way to get flagged. But you can say GHKCU does this with cancer, and our patches happen to elevate GHKCU, proven by the patent. So this is exactly what I have my clients and team do as well. People will say, does it help with this? They'll start naming these really obscure, rare conditions. And I'm like, go look up GHKCU with this, or if it's epithalamin for Alavita, I have my perceived ideas on what Aeon activates. And so I look up that specific peptide for it. But that's just a really great way for you to understand what exactly is happening. And you can then see that this patch truly is for everyone and everything, because stem cells, they're the very first cell when conception happens. And every single organ in the body is made of stem cells. And that's what GHKCU does, is it upregulates the stem cells. Which patch or patches and placement for the mold sinus issues? Tori, if you're still on, she might have hopped off with the littles. If she doesn't share, I can share what
I'm on, but I'm just with little people around me. Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Which patch or patches and placement for the mold sinus issues?
Oh, I did. Aeon, X39s and Aeon on top. So like a V.
Mm-hmm.
And actually my my midwife, she just told me last week that she had all 3 of her family members, they're living in mold, all had them. And the boys, her son, who's 18, and her husband were like, my sinuses just cleared up, but there's no way these little stickers did it. And she said they were all laughing because they all had they're all sitting at dinner with all 3 of them on their face, but it totally clears it up.
Yep.
Okay, I'm muting myself.
Yeah, they're amazing. That's what we did. So when we were living in the toxic mold, Wilder was born in the toxic mold. Babies aren't born sick. So we started patching him when he was a newborn. We didn't even know what they were. We thought they were eye patches for Hollis's eye. And within moments, people will feel the sinus clear and the glutathione. So if the glutathione raises glutathione 300 to 400% within 24 hours. So it's a hard hitter. So you just beware. X39 raises it 30%. So if you don't want to get started with glutathione, you can do that. Any rheumatoid arthritis testimonials? Tons. Rheumatoid arthritis is inflammation. That's all rheumatoid arthritis is. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, when I was a teenager, and I don't have that anymore. Danielle said, what is your attention-grabbing elevator pitch to providers? Anyone want to talk on here about that?
I think providers are sometimes the toughest, but if you get ones that are in a season of change or transition, they're the best. So they have to be willing to, maybe something's changed in their current financial state, where they're willing to take a look at it, or maybe there's something has changed in their current job, or maybe they're disgruntled, or they're not necessarily liking the clinic atmosphere or what they're being told from the hierarchy. And so they have to be a readiness to change has to be there. And those are the best ones to get because they want to grow, they want to change, they're willing to learn and listen. And they kind of put their ego down. If they feel like they've arrived financially and they've arrived with their jobs, they're much more difficult to talk to. I don't think we shouldn't present it, because I always think you never know when you're going to present something and they're going to recall it later on saying, what she told me about that patch. I should revisit that, right? So I always feel like it's okay to present it, but I look for people who are in the readiness to change. And that's actually not just with practitioners, that's with all people. I don't want the person telling the same story that they've been telling for 23 years. I'm looking for the people that are saying, I'm ready to change the story. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So, but with practitioners, you're kind of looking because there is a lot of cutbacks, and I can't even speak to this. Dr. Ed maybe can, but I know he doesn't do much insurance. Mason, Dr. Mason, I'm not sure if you do insurance. You know, like the insurance system has changed drastically where they're giving these practitioners literally a fraction of what was given. So I deal with hundreds of practitioners on my team, and they can tell you that the payout is not the same as it was like, let's say 10 years ago, right? So people are absolutely looking for ways to supplement their income right now, these practitioners. So don't let them fool you, and don't be intimidated because they all put their pants on the same way you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dr. Ed said providers are the hardest to get to switch their biases off of. So earlier, Dr. Ed said I had to unlearn my overeducated way of thinking. I was the same way.
I'll say that my compatriots who I've had the best or any success with are the ones who have problems that nothing has solved. And they're like, yeah, I'll give it a try. And actually today I was on a call with a bunch of other doctors, and the topic was a different topic, and I was able to bring LifeWave in and say, hey, has anybody heard of this? And our mentor said, no, I've never heard of it. And a bunch of people jumped on and said, oh, I've heard of it. I have a friend who's really into it. They're like, we want to learn more about it. And I signed somebody up today because she said, my patients keep coming in and telling me about it. But I'm hung up on the network marketing aspect, the pyramid scheme. And so I was hoping I'd find somebody who could explain it to me. And so I just happened to be that person. So it's hitting the right person at the right time.
Yeah.
Ashley,
Yeah,
go ahead. I hope you don't mind. I'm chiming in. I'm not one of the panel, but
please.
I reached out to someone today that I didn't know at all. Doesn't know me, and I stole something. I stole a phrase from somebody at the Vegas event. I said, people are praying for two things: either their finances or their health, or both. And that is what a lot of people pray for. And so this little technology can help both. This woman got right back to me within a half an hour, and she was like, she wanted to be on this call. I don't know if she's on, but that's what got her. So I don't know if it matters whether it's a practitioner. It's just everybody's praying for their health and their finances. And so that's what I've been using, and it's really working. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. And I love that you bring that up because we live in the information age. People have a lot of information. Okay. None of us are sick for a lack of education. Everyone's overwhelmed. I literally just launched a course that teaches people about this exact thing I'm telling you about. Everyone's overwhelmed. Nobody knows what step to take next. So when you take out all the fluff and you try to sound smart and whatever, and you just say, are you looking for a health solution? Or are you looking for a money solution? That's a yes or no question. And I don't know anyone they're going to say yes to one of those. And then you say, well, this is it. And this is the simple science. This is the way it works. Like you can get over the fact that it's direct sales. Like we need to do some unlearning there. But that's how I communicate to people, is very plainly, very matter of fact. This is science. Oh, this is pseudoscience. Okay, cool. Then just don't wear it. I mean, it's very simple. Then just don't put it on. And then they're like, well, can you tell me more about it? I'm like, I thought you didn't want to know about it. Dr. Veronica said, I speak to the same pain points I had in clinical practice. What to do when you have a patient you feel out of options with. Here's a whole new toolkit that doesn't require screening for contraindications, is a price point that is approachable for many, and able to be used by even the most sensitive, reactive types of patients. And I love that. We have a question about macular degeneration. So Shenandoah, who's on my team, amazing story a couple months ago, maybe a couple weeks ago. I have no concept of time right now, but she said she went to the eye doctor with one of her girlfriends. She had been seeing the guy for 8 years. She'd have to go get injections in her eye every 6 months, and she couldn't see. So after a month, he was dumbfounded that she no longer didn't need the injections, but could also see out of her eye. He wanted to know what she was doing. So Shenandoah went in with her at the 6-week appointment, and she could fully see out of her eye better without glasses. And he still looked at her like she was crazy. And so then someone was asking about macular degeneration. And so Hollis, my son, when the rooster attacked his eye, all the proteins, got spread apart like happens in cataract. And his cataract was actually cleared up from the patches, and pretty crazy. So same with what Shenandoah is sharing here.
My mom had macular degeneration fold too. Ashley. So that was like 2 years ago. We went in and she had a big old fold. It was bright red. And they said, we just got to really watch this because this is the start of macular degeneration. And so I started, mom was of course wearing X39 at the time, but I said, let's add carnosine on the sides of your eyes, like right here. Let's just do it. And we did it for 1 full year. I actually started exposing my mom's eyes to morning sunlight. And never letting her wear sunglasses. She's like, are you sure, Nita? My eye doctor says I'm supposed to wear sunglasses. I'm like, we're taking the sunglasses off, Mom. And so she'd come to my house and I'd have her sit in the sun, like literally all morning, afternoon. I would never let her I actually threw those sunglasses in the garbage. But anyway, long story short, we went back about less than a year later, and the doctor's like, Renita, look at this macular degeneration. It was like before it was like a mountain. It was like an unnoticeable molehill, and there was no red. She goes, I don't see this in 79-year-olds. Like, this is crazy, actually. So I'm like, was it the X39, the carnosine, or the sunlight on the eyes? I'm not sure. I'm just going to go with all of it. All of it. Yeah.
Well, when Renita and Scott were in Denmark or Switzerland or somewhere amazing with David, I texted them out of desperation. And I said, please, if it comes up naturally, we asked David what he would do if this was his own son, if Hollis was his own son. And David said, I would put X39 on the temple, or no, I would put X39 above the eyebrow, right above the pupil. So like in line with the pupil. And I would put a sleep mask on him and put the carnosine right inside the sleep mask, right over his eye. And so we've been doing that for Hall. And it's quite interesting. He has days where it's almost like the fog of the cataract is moving. I don't know. I don't know enough about the eye. I know quite a bit now. But he'll be like, I can see this, and I can see that, and I can see that shape. And like he was completely blind. So first his eye restored, then we had to go get a surgery on it, and the surgeon hit his lens and recataract his eye. So now we're trying to clear it up again. Dr. Veronica said X39 is also amazing for spike protein. Let's see. Endothelial signaling reboot. In my opinion, it can assist in rehabilitating the endothelial response to a variety of factors, histamine, cholesterol, hormones, etc. And then we're talking all about nattokinase from spike protein. Someone said they use the patch on kiddos, assuming it's safe for kiddos. My daughter has been having febrile seizures, and we're about to do blood work to determine the cause, which will help figure out which patch would help. But she's only 2. Does anyone want to speak to that?
If she's had any vaccination, stop vaccinating immediately. Number one, you can just go follow the high wire to get more information on that if you need it. And I would say that's number one. But I feel like these kids are so resilient, and they have the greatest capacity to just recover quickly. So I would definitely say, the patches haven't been used on kids per se, but either has like most supplements. They're not testing them on children, right, guys? But the only thing entering the body is light. So if you're willing to put a medication or even acetaminophen in the child's body, which many parents are unaware that it reduces glutathione or any of that. So if you're willing to do that, you certainly should be willing to implement light into the strategy of your child's health arsenal. So I would say absolutely try that. And we've seen people that have had crazy outcomes with children where again, we can't make medical claims, right? So I gotta watch my mouth. But miracles that we've seen with children with things similar. So you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So go for it.
Yeah. And I have a newborn in Hollis. So Hollis started wearing the patches when he was 2. Wilder started wearing the patches when he was a newborn. Normally a newborn wouldn't need to wear a patch, but when a newborn is born in a toxic, moldy house, glutathione is flying out, stem cells are being burned up, inflammation in the body. So we would just put the patches on the inside of his onesie or his diaper, because light is, not linear. Doesn't have to be right on the skin. And so, yeah, we put those on him. And I have a lot of clients that I work with that kiddos have seizures, and we implement these into their protocols. Starting with, there's a few different, I wonder what Veronica, I don't know if Veronica's still on here, but there's a few different ways that will go. And sometimes the lab work helps, but X39 is the everything patch. So we love that one. And then we also love Eon and Alavita. I mean, there's also other ones we love. So I don't know if someone else wants to jump in, talk about
Sure,
David
yeah,
told me
I
one
love-
time. Oh, go ahead. You got the floor. I was going to tell you what David told me, but we'll wait for it to help you talk.
I was just going to add that carnosine and X39 are a base that I really use with a lot of neurological conditions, be they in geriatric populations where we're looking at things like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, et cetera, or if we kind of take that neuroinflammation and spin it to the other end of the spectrum with pediatrics. But if there are issues that, and of course, what is really causing a febrile seizure and what's going on there should be addressed. But ultimately, to help with that signaling, that disordered hyperagitated signaling, I have found that to be a good combo. With the X39, I know some of the autistic parent community has voiced concerns about how copper may be impacting their children because of abnormal copper values in labs that they have had. So X49 I have found to be a more suitable option in these cases where that concern can be viable, and also because of the fact that is really going to target those areas more primarily than just your base connective tissue as a canvas. I find that to be a really good combo to go to if you've got any type of epileptic or seizure activity that's a concern.
Amazing. That makes a lot of sense.
David said that too. So when we started my mom on X39, because that naturally increases the glutathione, so we wouldn't need glutathione, but now they're finding that all of these neurological conditions are a glutathione deficiency. He said literally like all of them. He said, but don't start with glutathione. He said, start with carnosine after X39. He said, because it's a real strengthener. He said she might have some detoxification effects, but she'll have more strengthening than she will detoxification. And that was very, very true when my mom started wearing carnosine, like her posture pulled up, like everything kind of cognitively sharpened, where it didn't feel like a detox at all, but maybe her body was actually strong enough energetically. And Dr. Veronica, you could talk to that. When you're strong enough energetically, maybe you're pushing out some of those toxins naturally, probably, I'm guessing.
Yeah, carnosine is also, for those of you who have Herx reactions, a lot, I think, better position to start with, because carnosine, by virtue of really helping to scavenge some of the reactive oxygen species, it's just really going in there and helping, if you will, to say a cleanup on aisle 9, okay? Glutathione does some of that as well, but it's also going in there and doing a little bit of demolition as it accomplishes that job. So if you're not quite as resilient in that capacity, there's a lot more therapeutic benefit I find from carnosine to get that in first, or if you're patching, multiple different patches, maybe doing carnosine twice for every one time that you would push the glutathione, because the idea is glutathione is going to potentially get some stuff that needs to get stirred up out. That's good. But if you're going to do remodeling in a home project, anybody who's ever remodeled a house, you have a certain amount of demolition, then there needs to be a certain amount of building that happens. If you stay in that demolition mode, things just become a disaster, right? So I like to really give, for those sensitive types, a little bit more carnosine initially, or give more carnosine throughout the week than I would with just the glutathione. So it helps them buffer this.
Wow. This is amazing. We love carnosine over here because Hall wears it. Somebody asks, and then Veronica, I love how you said, I believe it helps hair, not just from a follicle support directly, but because it improves microvascular function that has gone dormant from various issues. And so when Hannah and I were creating this clinician document, I was able to deep dive in and see what the patch is really truly doing for like the vascular system. And it's quite incredible. Even like lymphatic support. It's quite wild. So it's not just like supporting, it's the patch is more deep than just a follicle. It's like really going in and doing the work, which is so awesome. Someone asked which patches are used for lowering blood pressure. Dr. Veronica said carnosine and X39 are favorite combo for hypertension. Yep. Ed said my thoughts on Aeon Reolactin, which is the peptide found in royal jelly that the queen bee is having. Jerry asked if there'll be a recording. Yes. My chiropractor says I have been living in fight or flight, fight and freeze for years. Fight, freeze for years. I've taken care of the stress that causes it. So in recovery, would it help in the recovery? And everyone's saying Aeon. So yes, like the Aeon patch is that nervous system supporting patch within it's actually within 30 seconds, based on all the studies I saw, there's like a shift to the parasympathetic state when wearing the Aeon patch. I wear the Aeon patch every night. I really love that patch. If you get a bee sting, I put the Aeon patch on that, coincidentally. Glutathione is my favorite for skin issues, Veronica said. Does anyone have experience with using the patches to get rid of parasites? And then Renita said, yes, when the body becomes energetically stronger, it will automatically push out parasites. So we always want to come from a root cause approach. We don't want to just do a parasite cleanse. We want to support the body so it can have the energy to do a parasite cleanse on its own, because clearing parasites is a very highly energetic process, just like clearing heavy metals, just like having a menstrual cycle. And so you always look down, downstream. What is upstream? Energy. We need to focus on what kind of energetic capacity is within the body. What's that?
I want to say one more thing about that, because Dr. Veronica mentioned at the top of the hour there, just about the capacity of the body sometimes to even handle supplements. And I can tell you, in our home, one of our children could not handle any supplements. In fact, we had him tested, and he could not literally take anything. And so we would have to open like a half a capsule of stuff and put it in bath water. This is a true story. And Truett and Rocco have not had a single vaccine, and Bo, we quit vaccinating at 2.5. So it's not like because he was some like toxic mess in that sense of the way, but could not handle supplementation. Literally, it would just like his whole system would just tank from supplements. He could not energetically handle them. When we put the patch on him, we started him with X39. A month later, the practitioner out of Minneapolis was testing Rocco, and she said, I cannot believe my eyes. She said, every time we've tested him, his mitochondrial was the greatest need. It was like at a 900. And she said, it's fallen all the way down to 200 in the last 30 days. We've been doctoring with supplementation for 2 years. What on earth did you do in the last 30 days? That's literally how that looked. And so it was like a game changer for mitochondrial functioning. And I'm just saying, I want to reiterate what Dr. Veronica said. Not everybody can handle supplementation. Like sometimes light, not most times, all the time, light is the first line of defense, right? So we've got to be careful, just like pouring all these supplements into our body, and especially children's bodies, right? And who knows what's even assimilating or absorbing, or, it could be doing more harm than good is what I'm saying. So that's it.
Yeah. And Veronica, you talked about like dosing, like everyone wants to do red light therapy. No one knows about dosing. Everyone wants to take supplements. No one knows about dosing. Like it's just
that's
so
the caveat actually when you're using these devices, and when people say, oh, I didn't get results, or I had this negative outcome, and people say that can't be possible because this is a certain nanometer that exists in nature and it can't hurt you. There's something called biphasic reactions when it comes to light, where that smaller doses will stimulate, moderate doses might inhibit, and larger doses kill or destroy, and that's the design. If you're working with cancer, you want to kill that. So the dose is going to be adjusted accordingly. But more is not more, which is why that if you're able to use your own endogenous baseline when it comes to light, you literally can't go wrong.
Wow. I love that so much. Just literally takes out all the questions, all the needed questions. And then for practitioners, time is every practitioner's pain point. Yeah. How do you help people without adding more time? The patches. I'm in a conventional medicine. I am a conventional medicine provider, and I'm a big believer in this, but I think you have to be on the right wavelength to be open to this. You have to be to the right point where you see through the medical system and realize that's not helping people, and there is another way. Yeah, absolutely. And may have been mentioned, but I'm listening during bedtime. Does their body become reliant on these patches? Anyone want to talk on that?
Addicted because I love how I feel.
Literally.
I don't know if reliance is the word, but I just feel amazing and I want to continue to. And when people say, how long do I have to do it? I'm like, trust me, quit the bad habits. Don't quit the good habits, guys. Yeah. Right? We've got plenty in our lives that we could probably stop investing in that's not contributing to our well-being and our health. But yeah. I mean, it's nothing where you have to be in it for the rest of your life. But after the repair is gone, the aging process is real, especially if you work out. Like I feel like I'm hard on my body with workouts and sprinting and lifting heavy. And we know that cognitively, the aging process is real. Bone density wise, the aging process is real. So if we can have something that is combating as we're on that journey, I mean, again, I just would never quit the good stuff. I'd quit all the bad stuff first.
And I think it's important to note, so people ask me this a lot, does your body become reliant on the patches? Your body does not become reliant on them because they're not non-addictive. Like, some people will go on melatonin high doses and then they're like, I can't sleep without it. And your body is daily degenerating. As you age, as there's stress, as there's toxin, as there's chemicals, as there's mismatch in circadian rhythm and blue light and EMF, and we could go on and on, basically everything in a modern world. So your body doesn't become, they're non-addictive, but you're only going to see the results of the patches while you wear them, because when you're not wearing them, the antioxidant, the peptide, the stem cells are not being reactivated. I think that's like the simplest way that I can put it. I don't know if someone else wants to say something.
Yeah, I was worried about that as well. And I had a lot of people ask me that. And, it was like, oh, is this a subscription system? But it was like, the more I wore them and the more I understood how they worked, it just gives me such incredible peace of mind to know that I just put this thing on my neck in the morning, put the little sticker on my neck in the morning, and I am reinforcing my body's ability to heal. I am reverse aging. I am strengthening myself but when we know that as time goes by, we go in the other direction. And just knowing that I'm doing that, like, I don't want to, as Renita said, I don't want to give up that feeling. Like, it feels good to know that I have found something that is so supportive of my biology that I worry much less and think much less about what's going to happen next.
Yeah. And I think another important thing, so people often say, well, how long do I have to wear this? I'm like, this isn't like a pharmaceutical you take to just like kill, like an antibiotic. And then, so the way I describe it, because most of my demographic isn't taking antibiotics, they are all taking magnesium though. So I say, well, just as long as you take magnesium, you get the benefits from it. If you stop taking magnesium, the body eventually will become depleted and you'll start noticing symptoms. It's, you take the magnesium, it works while you take it. You wear the patch, it works while you wear it. You take the magnesium and then you stop. It's not like you're just going to die the next day. You wear the patches and you take the patch off. You're not just going to, fall over the next day. Eventually the body continues to, the rooster microbe, degenerate, as we're aging. That's why David's thing is, it's not even like anti-aging, it's reverse aging. He's trying to bring everything, anti-aging would be like stopping it from aging further. David's like, no, we're going to reverse the age of the heart, actually. That's what's going to happen in 6 months of wearing the patches. Okay. Renita, did you want to share what you showed Leland?
Yeah, I can share that, but also someone just asked about SP6, and I was going to show a study because I want to tell you this about SP6. Before X39 came about, Europe, all of the doctors in Europe were pretty wild about SP6. And so if you haven't read the science on SP6, let me just briefly look at that little cutie. Let me briefly share that with you real quick here. So this is the study that was done on SP6, because before X39 came out, most of the medical professionals in Europe, these people are my friends now. This is how I know this information, did this. But as you can see there, this was this clinical study. Can you see it, Ashley?
Oh my gosh, this is my favorite study. I send this to everyone.
Right? Yeah. In conclusion, the overall data in the study demonstrated that SP6 patch wore on stomach 36 acupressure point 12 hours daily for a period of 1 week only. So when we're talking about time frames, and they're asking questions like, do I have to wear it forever? Well, this happened in 1 week of this clinical study, produced a highly significant improvement in physiological functioning status of the liver, pancreas, kidneys, with an average statistical power greater than 97%, and a very significant in hypothalamus with an average power greater than 87%. Anyway, and everything was just basically improved. Physiologically, these people literally got stronger in 7 days of wearing the SP6 and stomach 36. So all of my European doctor friends are pretty crazy still about SP6. And so I'm glad that I have that working knowledge, because as I spoke to them, they're like, before X39, we used SP6. And we used, Eon and all of that. So now I feel like X39 kind of fills the gap of so many things, Ashley, that maybe they don't need to start with SP6, start with X39 and see what it does, right? But not a bad idea, the SP6 for hormonal. We've heard of great hormonal things. And anytime you increase, they market it as taking away cravings, but I'm like, yeah, when your physiological organ functioning is 98% better, you're probably not going to crave the crap. So I don't know. It's a cool study, but it's in your back office. The thing I was going to show you with Dr. Leland. So Dr. Leland was nervous about the business model, right? As many of the practitioners were voicing. And this is so we had a doctor friend at the time who was a nurse. Her name was Dr. Katie, and she was actually a nurse. And then she went back to school to be a doctor. And she was saying to Dr. Leland, what do you mean you're scared of the business model? She said, and now think about this, guys. She created this document 3.5 years ago. So she showed the document that talks about the big pharma model, which if you guys think that they're spending all this money on R&D, now we're finding out the truth from RFK Jr. But of the top 10 largest pharmaceutical companies that we all know of them, 7 of the 10 spent more money on marketing than they did on R&D, 37% more, right? Statistically. So this is like, we think they're spending all this money in R&D, and really they're just spending money on the television commercials to get the ads out, right? And then she proceeded to build this model that showed me, like, first, of course, there's the lobbying that goes on in DC, right? And again, I just feel like we've got really good practitioners caught in a really rotten system in some ways, right? Because I know that there's excellent MDs and nurses, and so many of my friends are fabulous people, and they just have been caught in this kind of crazy system of insurance and whatnot. But anyway, as you look at this, she kind of drew this out about pharmacy benefit managers and all of these people who get a cut. So when I said to Dr. Leland Stillman, when I chased him down for a few months, and finally he said yes, and he said yes because he was at a holiday party with a bunch of health practitioners that were brilliant, he said. And he said 3 of the people had the patch on. And he said, Renita, I realized you were chasing me down, and I was now officially behind the 8 ball. So that's how he got started. He called me at like 11 o'clock at night and said, sign me up. And then he said, how do I share this with my patients? And I'm like, well, why would you tell them it's network marketing? Why don't you just tell them the benefits of what it can do for them, just like you do like with the drugs you prescribe if you do that? Like, you don't say, this is the drug I'm prescribing you, and this is the chain of hands that the money goes through before it gets in your hand, right? Like, you don't talk like that, do you? And he's like, no, never. And so I said, well, look at all these chains. And so Dr. Katie built this for us, actually. She's brilliant. She's brilliant. She still is brilliant. She's brilliant and beautiful. But she just showed us what actually happens. And again, this is outdated at this point. We know that the drug dollars went up during the pandemic. We know all those numbers increased. They didn't decrease, they increased, right? So this is kind of outdated information. But then she presented the freedom model, where people like, people that are not in the medical field, like me, like, so many people that are on here tonight that maybe just had a great product experience are now sharing it with others, and they don't have to be a medical doctor. And I'm not undermining your education, because I think it's powerful. And I think that when you utilize it and come alongside with this technology, it's really amazing. But when I realized the freedom model, Ashley, you saw this, Dr. Stillman is earning, the incentive trips, and he's got 4 patients going along because they earned it too. Because the patients are now sharing the patch, which gets to be crazy. So it really, and he said, I believe in freedom, medical health freedom, right? Health freedom for people to choose what they want. He said, I have to start talking that this is the freedom model, because a lot of my patients and a lot of people that want alternative therapies outside of the system that insurance is not paying for, they need money to pay for those modalities of healing, right? Whether it's chiropractic, massage, red light, whatever you choose to do, even in, some integrative physicians that are boutique physicians, you're paying out of pocket for their services, right? So you need money to do that. And he said, I don't know why I'm not talking about the freedom model more. And then he really pivoted hard, and now he's all about the freedom model. So sometimes just seeing that, where you see this is how it used to be, and now this is what we have our hands on, I've had 90-year-old people come on a Zoom meeting because they're sharing it with their doctor, because their doctor can't deny the results. And then the doctor gets in under the 90-year-old. I'm not kidding. Like I've been on these Zooms in the last 3.5 years. So it's really the business model that anybody can share. You don't have to be an MD or an ND. Do I think it helps? In some cases. But I also think that it is the business model for everybody, and why not everybody just share the light? So that's what Dr. Katie shared with me, and I shared with Leland. And from then on, he had a massive breakthrough with his thinking. So
yeah, you really have to just, like, when it comes to the business model, I could say that probably 90% of us here were uninterested in that, myself included. I actually had all the results we had with Hollis, and then I went to buy more on Amazon. I literally thought they were just on Amazon. I went to ask Leland if he had a link, like an affiliate link. And then I saw what it was, and my heart kind of stopped for a minute because I was very anti-direct sales. I'd been approached by over 200 direct sales companies since I started my nutrition practice 10 years ago. And I had zero interest. And I was like, I told Tommy, I'm like, it's an MLM. And he's like, shut up. Because we've always made a joke. We're like, if there was an MLM we could get behind, we'd be rich, because we would love it. We could work the business model. And I told him, and he's like, no. I'm like, yeah. So I spent like a long time. I either can deny the results that Hollis got and not share about it because of the business model, or I can educate myself, see if this is a business model that actually is something that I could get behind, which I had very little hope it was. And then learned like, oh, this is actually a pretty good thing. Like, as I've now learned, like, this seems pretty awesome. And so we decided to share, and I'm, grateful that we did. But Hannah's asking, did you use 2 carnosines at once or alternate? I'm working with someone with pterygiums, both eyes. Renita, do you know? Just 2 carnosines? Like, if you had the funds, 2, probably, I would say.
2, I would do the 2.
Yeah.
And, even when they start, they could do that even just like 3 times a week. You don't have to do it every single day. Just for affordability. Another thing that they could do for affordability is what I'm thinking is they could just take off half of the sticker, and then the next day take off the other half of the sticker. So that might help them.
Okay. I'm just catching up. There's a lot going on here, guys. Okay. Everyone's amazed. So many wows. Everything amazing. Are you able to share the clinician information, Ashley? Build host terrain. What does your body do? I'm just trying to, okay. What patches for vax injured children? Any insights?
I mean, I would start with the X39 because the GHK copper peptide works to heal nerves, calms the inflammation, all that. Depending on what the vax injury is, if we're talking about neurologic stuff, either Eon or carnosine added to that, those would be, it all depends on how much money you have to spend on how many patches. But I don't know if anybody else has any good ideas on that.
I feel like I'm talking a lot, so I'm just going to be quiet.
I feel like that's an unwinding journey. The first thing to do is stop the toxins, right? So don't get any more vaccines. Stop that immediately. Educate themselves so that they understand that what's happening there. And then, I feel like that is an unwinding process. We've seen excellent things with people close to us and people that we love and care about simply on X39, even adult vaccine injured people, which is pretty awesome. And so, and again, I think kids always just heal faster because they're children, right? But I would definitely say, starting with X39, I'd bring in that Eon. I like carnosine just for strengthening the whole system. Like I said, there's going to be slight natural detoxification that, comes into play just by increasing the system with carnosine. But, it's a gradual process, for parents, a lot of times, I think if they're nervous about it, stick it on the clothes, don't put it on the scan initially, kind of just, ease their way into it. And again, we can't treat, cure, or diagnose. There's been no clinical testing on children, just like, most supplements. But you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's only light. So.
Yeah. I like this question. Brigitta asked, I've been patching since 2022. Trying to reverse vitiligo, not having any results. So I like this question because when people aren't experiencing changes with the patches, what are we like as practitioners noticing? I'll start quickly. Almost 100% of the time, I will notice that people are either dehydrated, are lacking minerals, specifically potassium and magnesium, but then also copper. It's super nuanced because obviously when you're working with a client one-on-one, we're doing intakes and things like that. But I've seen people add in, you know, like a whole food copper paired with a copper bisglycinate, and within hours, their patch will start working, whereas it wasn't working before. Or I've even seen if somebody has really elevated cortisol levels, it almost like blocks the X39. And I'm assuming it has to do with the inflammation. And so when we get that cortisol under control by adding an Aeon first and then X39, I've seen that work. These roosters, I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna mute myself if someone else wants to talk.
I didn't even hear the roosters, but I kind of want to. Okay, so there.
That's good to know. They are going. Okay. Good protocol for radiation damage to internal tissues 12 years ago. This is beyond my knowledge. I don't know if anyone else wants to speak to that.
I mean, I would start with X39, but there's lots of good binders, right? Radiation. I mean, you could do pectin. I mean, there's amazing binders in the marketplace, right? Humic and fulvic acid and different things like that. But I mean, we don't want to talk all supplements tonight, I suppose. But I mean, I definitely think, you know, starting with the X39 is not going to be a bad thing. Knowing what the X49 does with radiation, you know, as like, you know, like Dr. John and a few others have demonstrated where, you know, they literally put the X49 on and they muscle test strong when they have their devices. I would say it wouldn't be a bad idea to add in the X49 as well.
Yeah.
39, 49, and Eon is what I would go for.
39 for 9 Eon. What would be okay to wear pregnant? So I wore the patches while I was pregnant, and I wore X39. I didn't really know a ton about the patches then, so I think we just had X39s that Leland sent us. But I now have clients and other practitioners that are on my team using with their patients and clients. And we basically, like if somebody's first wearing the patches and they're really toxic and they're pregnant, like we're not going to put a glutathione on them. That just, you know, kind of like common sense when it makes sense. So I love aloe vera. Like my pregnant moms love aloe vera and Aeon and X39 and carnosine. Basically, they like all of them except for glutathione, I would say. And we actually have moms utilizing, I have a bunch of doulas and midwives on my team, and they're utilizing the ice waves during delivery. And the moms, obviously there is the association of pressure with childbirth. Nobody's going to like ignore that, but they're not having like back labor, or they're not having like the pain that is making them transfer to go and get an epidural. So it's been really interesting to see. And then they're also wearing ice waves and Aeon postpartum for those after cramps that you have as a mother. And they're saying that they've had 4 kids and normally they intensify with each child. And the mom said that these were the least she had with any of her children while wearing the patches. So we're getting a lot of cool anecdotes from the moms that were patching. Okay. Love the nursing baby. Yep. My kids are always nursing. Let's see. We're going to wrap up here soon, guys. This is good. How many hours a day do I wear the patch? 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Put it on in the morning when you wake up, take it off at night before you go to bed. If you have a kiddo or a dog or a plant or a pet, put it on your one of those. I'm late. Will there be a recording? Yes. I love this. Veronica said, it's not about demonizing the pyramid. It's about picking where you want to be in the pyramid. Because everything, like I tell people will be like, oh, aren't you concerned it's an MLM? And I will literally respond back to them and say, do you shop at Target, Walmart, Amazon, Nike, Apple? And they kind of respond back like with the dots. Oh, yeah.
They just say it because it's just words that they've heard somewhere along the line.
Yes.
They've never even examined the words. They're just repeating something they heard, like a mockingbird.
Yes, literally. Oh, Veronica said X39 carnosine is a great combo for vax injury. So there we have it. I'm really behind on these. And then here's some doctor conversation going on. So then Dr. Ed asked, Veronica, elaborate on X49 rather than X39. And Veronica said, GHK is a great base to have for overhauling gene signaling. Impediments on VAC. I don't maybe
Oh,
that's
that's
Dr.
just
Tom.
me being so used to having to disguise the word vaccine for fear of getting continually deleted and banned by every single network out there. So
That I figured, okay. Impediments on vaccinations may have shifted, inflammation, heightened tissue, direct inflammatory patterns, etc. But I really appreciate the gentle buffering carnosine provides alongside neurofortifying and oriented approach. X49 for further brain-oriented support and endothelial-based repatterning. I like to consider the receptor sites involved in the specific vaccine, given to know where I likely want to begin the remodeling. And I love that because we are having to remodel when like demolition came in kind of with, it was like demolition and like their own sketchy, illegal rebuilding team. And so we had to kind of like kick all them out and then like actually rebuild how it's supposed to be.
So copy and paste that when somebody asks me, I'll be like, this was what my friend Dr. Veronica said. Copy, paste, bam.
Literally. And then we'll do this last question and then we'll jump off 2 hours later. This was amazing. Wait, are you saying you can use the same patch after 12 hours on your kid for the next 12 hours? And people said, yeah, I do that all the time. So it's a weaker battery, essentially. You can imagine a full battery is in your electric lawnmower and it's working really great. And then by the time it gets to the end, it kind of starts dying and you have to kind of restart it. The patch is basically running out of energy at that point because the amino acids are being burned through. Like I could be totally botching that. But basically it gets weaker as it's worn. And so that's a lot of times we'll wear our patches in the day and then we'll put the used ones on the kiddos for, would it even be worth suggesting or effective on someone who doesn't live or even attempt a non-healthy lifestyle? Okay, this is actually the last question. And I would say yes. As much as I would like to tell people, like, don't put the patch on if you're not willing to change your lifestyle, I have seen the most standard American vaccinated, non-hydrated of people put these patches on and see results. Because in the same way that if those people went out in the sun and got sun and they went into the ocean and they got those ions and they went and they took magnesium or they drank raw milk, they're going to get benefits. The patch does the same thing. Okay. Best 2 hours I've spent doing something in a long time, said Emily. Thank you so much, guys. I will have this recording up and available as soon as it exports into Zoom, which is probably going to take a long time because it's 2 hours. So just keep your eyes peeled for maybe in the morning. My assistant is on a different time zone, so she might be able to get it up tonight. But we'll post it on our Facebook, Instagram but then we'll also send it to the leaders and practitioners of this call. So thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Ashley, can I jump in super
Ashley.
quick? I just want to jump in super quick and say, like, I've been sort of watching from a macro level how things are unfolding in the world, and we are at like a point in time where there is a huge paradigm shift happening. It's not coming, it's happening. And doing things like this is part of choosing which path civilization is going to take. And I know that sounds like, what's she talking about? This is just a small thing, but it's really not. Like every single one of our individual choices, when we choose a path that is not predetermined by institutional bureaucratic oversight of people who don't actually care about us, every time we make a choice in that direction, whether it's putting on a patch or signing up to be a brand partner or engaging in a model that was created by people for people with a seriously next level technology, this is truly what is going to change the world and keep us and put us on a trajectory that we want our children and our grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren to grow up in.
Love. I'll have Tommy edit that snippet right there. That's amazing.
Oh, Meredith, go. Beautiful.
Thank you, Kathleen, Renita, Ed, Veronica, Mason jumped off, I know, Hannah, Tori, whoever else I missed on here. Just amazing. I see Jaime on here, and I see a lot of familiar faces. You guys all are amazing. And
thank you, Ashley and Tommy, for putting this together. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, you're welcome. See you guys.